he, I mean, that was her, her take on the situation. She came around and kind of startled this thing. But it actually seems like to me, by the time we get to the end of this, that it was kind of protecting its territory. And it had just, like, she was getting too close, and so it had to stand up and terrify her. So she says, as I came out of the track, it sort of had seen me and was just totally, like, surprised. It stood straight up, looked at me, and glared at me. I remember it had its hands, its arms down beside its body. And it's like a common trait of these yowies. They have really long arms that almost touch the ground. And it says the arms... the size of the arms and the legs was just really massive, really like muscular thing. The hands were about 1.5 times the size of human hands, so pretty big fucking creature.
You know what that means?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. She said while its face and part of its chest were bare and exposed, making the creature look similar to a person. So it obviously had
Squatch.
Yeah,
hot squatch.
It shapes its chest, obviously.
Fucking Metro Squatch.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, keeps things tidy. I get it. So then she says it suddenly roared and it made her knees wobble with fright. It was like just fucking screamed at her. And then it began to charge at her. And she was like, holy fuck. And she turned around and started running.
It's like New Jersey.
This happens in New Jersey a lot.
It's a common occurrence.
I like you! Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
Get this broad. So she says, I only took a couple of strides and it just hit me in the back. And I went sailing off the side of the hill.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
So she went flying down the hill and into a clump of long grass, which kind of broke her fall. So she got out of it without being too badly injured. A couple of scrapes and bruises, I think you said. And then she kind of slid down the rest of the hill, reached the bottom, jumped over this fence and back to her car in the parking lot and just like tore off, got the fuck out of there. She mentions that she believes it was just trying to scare her away from the area, like I said. After feeling this immense power of the shove that she received, she believes that if it wanted to, it could have done far more damage. Yeah. So it just kind of shoved her out of the area. It didn't, like, try to kill her or anything. So, yeah, maybe she just came upon its, like, spacecraft or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Weird. Guys.
Whoa.
Well,
the territory thing is interesting because in the book they talk about caves and the Sasquatch being super territorial of where they live and where they reside. So that's very consistent with a lot of stories. But that first story, man, what the fuck was going on with that thing, man? That thing, that's really... I've never heard anything like that.
I haven't either.
That was crazy.
I mean, I know I'm not as big of a Bigfoot person than Josh, but yeah, that's a really strange story.
Yeah, that was bizarre, that one. So... Well, I have one more story, and I saved this one for last because it surprisingly happened like within walking distance of where the house I grew up in which was super interesting. I never knew this area. It was called Daisy Hill Forest. I never knew that it was like a huge Yowie hotspot, apparently. So I found this story, and again, this whole women and children thing pops up again and again with these Yowies. So it's about this father who was walking through these tracks of this national forest in Daisy Hill. And he had his little 2-year-old daughter with him. And, anyone who's had kids knows a walk with a 2-year-old is like a constant start-stop activity of this kid like picking up shit and like walking around and putting things in their mouths, and it's just fucking crazy. Anyway, so... this guy was just happily letting his daughter like stroll along and do her thing. She was having a blast, and he was like, "All right, we're not in a hurry. She's just having a great time." So as they're walking, his daughter suddenly stops, and then she just goes nuts and starts like exclaiming and starting pointing into the bush and going, "Ooh," and "uh-oh." And he said he knows his daughter's mannerisms, and this means his daughter had seen something really exciting and was trying to get her dad to look at it. And she was kind of looking off into the bush from the track. So he says, I had a look in the direction she was pointing at, and thought, it's probably going to be like a kangaroo or something hopping along in the forest along those lines. And then he says, far from it, about 100 meters into the scrub, was this retreating figure, a big hulking, man figure, sort of quietly like making its way away from them. And he says it wasn't really retreating quickly. It was almost like, oh shit, my cover's been blown, better get to a new vantage point. So he was like, oh my god, he wanted to, like, he was like, oh shit, I want to like sprint off after this thing and chase it, but I can't leave my daughter here, obviously. So he says he wanted to get back to the car, and he had like a camera in the car. He wanted to grab his camera, so he was like trying to hurry his daughter along the track, trying to head back to the car. And he said the whole time they were walking, his daughter seemed to be having this really weird conversation with this thing in the forest, like this little garbled language of a 2-year-old. Obviously, she's too young to, form any complete sentences. She knows words here and there, but she's just chattering away in this like garbled sentence, seemingly having this conversation with whatever it was in the forest. There was like almost like a back and forth.
He was hearing a voice coming back from the forest, or it seemed like the kid was talking to someone and it was more telepathy?
Yeah, it does seem like there was some telepathy going on, but he said he did hear the occasional little whistle sound, and he said this almost like this little amplified woof noise every now and then would come from this direction of this thing. And she said, so he said they, as they're walking along the path, this thing kind of walked out of sight as they were heading back to their car. And he said the whole time when the daughter was like, talking back and forth with this thing, he would stop and like listen, look around. She was like still chattering away to this thing, and he could hear the footsteps and the twigs cracking in the forest as this thing was kind of following them.
Yeah.
Which is really odd. Yeah. And so like he says, he was hearing like little noises coming from this thing, but it was almost like this one-sided conversation that his daughter was having. So he said, but it wasn't like, this wasn't a terrifying experience. He says, the way it followed us, it wasn't in a threatening manner. He said, well, I should say, I didn't feel like that oh shit moment of like heavy fear that hits like you hear in all these stories, He said it was more of a calm, just move along and do your thing and I'll do mine kind of vibe to it. It was just like this thing was just curious and just watching them.
He could sense it.
But he said it was really, he said it was really just interested in his daughter and wasn't too fussed with him being there at all. It was just like trying to communicate with his daughter, which is really weird.
Wow. Does she remember any of it as
so
she got older? Or they probably didn't follow up in the story, but...
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any follow-up
really
on this at all. Yeah. So he says it wasn't too far away to observe any distinct facial features. He remembers seeing... it was too far away to see anything distinct, but he remembers seeing this sloping brow line when it turned away to move off. So it was this kind of like monkey-looking face, I guess, the sloping brow line. So anyway, that's kind of it. He does mention that as he was strapping her into the car, she was still doing this chattering thing, and then she stopped suddenly after he strapped her in, and she's just staring out into the forest, looking at something. Really odd, like she was just like staring, quiet. And so he was like looking into the forest and he couldn't see what she was looking at, but she was definitely looking at something because, as they were driving away, she kept trying to like look in this direction. And he makes one final note and he says,
wait, pause in here. Connection. That's a connection. They can be invisible.
Yeah.
We know this from Harry and the Hendersons. They can blend right in.
Yeah. Yeah. They have that camouflage ability. Yeah.
It's a great show.
And so the final note that he makes, he does say that his daughter does seem to have this connection to paranormal things as well. So it does seem like she can communicate with the other side in some way. He makes note at the end of this post that he says. He says there's been like some haunting things happening around their house that she seems to be either directly interacting with, or she notices them and has little conversations with people who aren't in the room as well, which is kind of creepy. So I don't know, maybe the Yowie was on some level able to communicate with this little girl. It was just a weird little situation. But yeah, that's all I got. Some Yowie
Wow.
stories. Straight from Oz.
So, I mean,
awesome.
I know we started this podcast talking about how, like, the search for them is this, like, part of us that we've lost type of thing, which I don't actually disagree with, even after hearing all these stories. But I do think that they might be living among us in another dimension. I mean, but the searching for them actually defines more of who we are as humans. So I actually agree with that, too. From the beginning of the article that you poo-pooed on, Josh.
Yep.
Yeah, Sasquatch is real.
All right, so if you love the smell of scant and you want to feel the freedom of the Bigfoot,
Sweet, sweet scat.
go out and look for it. Until next time, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.